Hello everyone, it's Evan from the Trade Risk on Thursday, June 11th here with a market recap video. We're going to look at some major markets, we're going to look at leading sectors, and then we're going to get into some trade ideas and individual names later in the video. So we'll jump into the SPY here, and you can see we've had a very impressive two-day rally. The bulls have still sort of mastered the art of this V-shaped rally that we have become conditioned to in the recent years in this bull run. You can see, you know, for the past 2 weeks or so, we were just sliding lower. We failed to break out here above 212 back in mid-May, and then we proceeded to just grind out and then, you know, sort of bleed lower here last week until we hit around this 208 level where, you know, we got this little bit of a bounce off the lows here on Tuesday's session, and then yesterday, of course, we had that big gap up and then a gap and go where we effectively just pushed higher from the open and closed pretty strongly. Today, we couldn't quite, we got a little bit of follow through. We couldn't quite hold into this 212 level that we probed earlier in the day, but still, you know, a small win for the bulls for sure to hold on to all of yesterday's candles. So, you know, the important thing now is how we close the week. Of course, now we are back to the top end of this range. So while this rally is certainly impressive over the past 2 days, technically it hasn't changed a whole lot in the bigger picture. We really need to see this 212.50 level or so get taken out, get a close above there to confirm potentially a breakout, this time maybe for real, you know, unlike this time right here back in mid-May. So that's where we are right now. Definitely constructive. I mean, you know, the short-term momentum is to the upside, of course. Moving averages starting to curl back up. So, but, you know, still be cognizant that we are in a range still, and we're headed up to the top end of it right now, where historically, you know, it's in this kind of mean reverting market. This should give us a little bit of trouble. So 212 is certainly 212 to 212.50 or so. Definitely an interesting area that I'm watching. Personally, I'm still positioned long this market. Still on the light side. I've been really light, but I do have some long exposure on, so I'm interested to see how we close the week and if the bulls can really hold on to the past 2 days or so gains. Looking at some other markets, the IWM, definitely a more bullish tone here. We are flirting with the top end here now. Basically, you know, this is almost an all-time close for the IWM, but not quite. You still get this little candle here back in April that was right around 126.48. So that's a level to keep on watch. So the small caps definitely trying to lead us out of this mess, trying to potentially paint the picture of resolve to the upside. So certainly constructive there in the small cap, and then the Qs, you know, kind of similar to the SPY. It's not quite at its breakout level here. It still has some work to do. 111 on the upside is, you know, the big level that we need to keep on watch. For now, we're back above 109, and we're, you know, in this sort of bulk of supply that we've been trading in for the past, you know, 3 weeks or so. So the Qs, again, still need to show some more signs of stability and you know, leadership to get out of the hole here. Looking at some other markets now, TLT had a really nice snapback today. You know, arguably oversold on a lot of different metrics. Again, still in a pretty ugly looking technical formation here. It's still in a downtrend that's been in place, you know, certainly from this 130 level, but arguably all the way back from February as we kind of topped out above 135. So TLT certainly looks good. Had a nice close today. It's coming into the fast moving averages. I'd expect some resistance in here as it gets in closer to the 120 level, but let's see if that one can continue a little bit, show some signs of stabilization. USO, you know, a little bit quiet today, a little slightly red on the day, still kind of hanging out here, trying to figure out what it wants to do. It's developing a nice little kind of flag here from this nice rally, this move from, you know, sub 16 all the way to 21, and now it's trying to digest that 5-point move here, and you know, it could take some more time before it resolves, but starting to look a little interesting, starting to contract a little bit. These fast moving averages kind of just moving sideways here, so see what USO does in the next coming week or so. UNG, again, this one had a nice recent bounce here from, you know, basically 1250 or so. Gave a little bit back today. Let's see, you know, let's see if maybe this gap needs to get filled. This big gap up from Thursday, I believe, from Tuesday, I'm sorry. You know, perhaps that one needs to be needs to close up here a little bit before we resolve back to the upside. Otherwise, this one's starting to try and take shape, but again, it's still in a larger term holding pattern. So UNG doesn't look very actionable to me just yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. Gold down a little bit today, still kind of messy here, not too much to say about it. Silver, same thing, back to the lower end of this range, not too much to say about that one either. So the leading sectors really for today, the financials, these have been pretty strong as of recently. So these are emerging as definitely a sector leader here in the market, and this is what you kind of want to. This is where the money's rotating to now. This is where you want to start to look for some potential strength in some of these underlying signals in this sector. So XLF, this one's looking good. Take a look at a weekly chart. You can see we're basically at the highs here as of all recently. So the subtrend on the weekly chart still nice and smooth, and you can see today we you know, still managed to hold on to those gains. The healthcare sector, XLV, again, this one continues to perform. You can see it had a little bit of a pullback here last week, the past 2 weeks or so, but now it's quickly back to these recent highs. So let's see if we can get going again, you know, above basically today's highs. This would take out the recent supply here and, you know, signal that perhaps this one is ready to start trending nicely again. Another leader right there. And then finally, the biotech index, the IBB, starting to shape up a little bit. You know, we had two quick shakeouts here, kind of got a lot of people scared. Is this the bubble pop? You know, are we in for a 20, 30, 40% correction in biotech stocks? You know, with this quick down move here, we rallied back up, then we gave it all back. Now here we are again, back at the highs, and we're putting in what appears to be a pretty healthy consolidation at the top end of a range. So this looks pretty constructive here. Let's see if we get some follow through. The weekly close will be important today, tomorrow, and you know, if we get a nice bullish, you know, all-time closing high here on the on the biotech index, that would certainly be bullish. If we closed at least here or higher tomorrow, we would have that, in fact. So those are the leading sectors right now. The laggards still again are the rate sensitive sectors, the XLU, and even the home builders are actually underperforming. Oh, I'm sorry, not the home builders, even though they're not that great, but energy now is recently been pretty weak here. You know, it's still kind of basing out. This one, of course, got clobbered here for most of or the second half of 2014. Still trying to stabilize now in a longer term picture. So XLE, a little bit of drag on the market, on the SPY in particular right now. Now let's get into some individual names. Apple, first we'll look at here. You can see this one failed to kind of hold on to these gains around 130 again. You can see the topping tail on today's candle. It's sort of to be expected. There's a lot of supply right around this 130 level. It's proving to be a pretty significant level, and Apple seems to be respecting that. So this one looks like it just needs more time. Still in basically a consolidation pattern. Depends on how you want to cut it, but doesn't look too actionable to me one way or the other. Google's starting to get a little more interesting right around this 556 level or so. You can see it's failed to break above it now for a few times, and it's making its way back up there. So it could be an interesting one. You know, bigger picture, you're in a long-term you know, range. If you look at a weekly chart, you can see you're just sort of in this big holding pattern there, but could get a little momentum trade above 556. So that one could be interesting if you're into that. Netflix cooling off a little bit today, still an absolute monster run. You know, still holding above the fast moving averages. Tough to get on board. You really just need to chase it, or you know, you got to pay up for it, but you know, people are getting rewarded for doing that. So Netflix continues to perform. Amazon, this one faded a little bit too today, quite a bit today actually. If you look at today's candle, still having a lot of trouble with this, you know, as it gets up to this 440 zone, still get some sellers in there, so might not be ready yet. Still just going sideways. Let's see if it could basically take out today's highs. Let's get a definitive close. You know, perhaps we can get a trade in there. I tried getting long it right here on the 3rd, on this Wednesday here, and it was quickly stopped out the next day. So this one's been you know, just kind of juking and jiving here. Just needs a little more time, but could be worth a trade when it sets up. Facebook cooling off a little bit today too. Still in a messy range overall. I like that it's above $81, but you still have, you know, 84 right above it. So this one, weekly chart, you can see what's going on here. Still kind of a grinding sideways holding pattern that Facebook has been in. So haven't really seen some pure clean momentum one way or the other. And Twitter still struggling to stabilize, still can't find its footing. It's below $36 now. Weekly chart, let's see if let's see how this thing closes. Weekly chart looks pretty poor here. This will be the lowest close here, going all the way back to you know, basically a year ago, June. So a 52-week low, closing low is almost on deck here for Twitter. So certainly not a very bullish name right now. Tesla still holding on to its uptrend. This one, again, similar to Netflix, is kind of just ran away and just riding above these fast-moving averages. So it's tough. It's making you pay up if you want to be involved. Otherwise, you really just got to sit on your hands. So Tesla waiting for something to set up there. Alibaba, still nothing new has set up after it had this nice run up. It's then just kind of bleeding lower, and it's, you know, now back to this essentially this gap up from earnings. Not quite there yet, but you know, below today's lows, back under $86 or so, you're going to have to start to consider whether or not this gap wants to get filled. So Alibaba, we'll have to see if that can stabilize. GoPro, this one giving back, you know, the progress that the bulls made yesterday, kind of filling in the gap lower yesterday, and GoPro kind of gave it back. Again, this one's still in a short-term rising trend from since beginning of March. You can see it's still above the fast moving averages, closing right into this 20 EMA right now, so potentially snapping it. Let's see if a little bit of a pullback develops here in GoPro, or see if the dip buyers just want to keep paying up and holding this one up pretty strong. But this one is showing a little bit of signs of cracking. And now some signals and setups to look at going forward. First is X-ray. This one, again, we're going to try and look at some setups that are in leading sectors. So like I say, the XLV is the healthcare sector that we've identified as sort of a leader right now. That's what we're going to look at here first, is X-ray. This one back to the top end of this range, $53, looks like a breakout. Close look at it on a weekly chart. You can see how had a nice run up. It's moving sideways. So let's see if we can get a little more strength above this $53 level. GD, General Dynamics, this one looks pretty good, sort of in motion here above. We got to close above 142. That's been an area of significance in the past. Take a look at a weekly chart. Again, you can see the nice healthy digestion here, so this one looks good. Let's see if it can close the week out pretty strong. UTHR, again, this one playing with our leading sector strength play here. This is in the biotech index, and this one looks pretty good today. Nice 2.7% day, closed above these recent highs here, and then you got some supply to contend with right around this 188 189 level. So UTHR, this one looks pretty good. You can see we had a nice run here, you know, basically all year, and then it put in a nice 2-month consolidation, and it could be ready to emerge now, so keep that one on watch. MAN, this one has been in motion. Weekly chart's the most interesting here. You can see it's been a level going all the way back to 2014, the beginning of it. You can see we basically have this nice little you know, rounded bottom down here, not quite double bottom, whatever you want to call it, but it looks like this one's trying to get going again, so keep that one on watch. HSIC, here's another one that had a nice close today back in the medical distribution sector industry, and this one looks pretty good too. Weekly chart, a lot of these on the weekly charts are starting to set up pretty nice, but this one's been really tight, holding high, and this one looks like it could get in motion. And finally, TKMR is a biotech play. This one has been tight. This one really blew up today, up over 8%, so nice looking one here. Had a nice tight pattern in front of it. Let's see if this one can retrace. Not a whole lot of supply up here. It's pretty thin, so this one could continue to move into next week, into tomorrow. So that's what I have for setups. As always, thanks for watching. Any comments, questions, concerns, let me know. Otherwise, thank you, and I will catch you next time.